Standard 7 Subject Science Lesson number 17 Effects of Light Part 1. We are going to start with the topic Effects of Light. Correct? Now every one of us know that light is composed of several colors. It is made up of several colors. Whenever you got up early in the morning or sometime in the evening, you can see the different shades or variety of shades of the colors in the sky. Now, what is the reason behind this? Means sometimes it appears orangish in color, sometimes it appears red in color, sometimes it appears bluish in color. What are the reasons behind this? First of all, let us try to recall the knowledge that we have about the light. We know that the ray of light or even the sunlight, when it passes through the prism, it shows the band of different 7 colors. That colors we call them as a rainbow colors. Everyone is aware that which are the rainbow colors? Vibgyor. Okay, last year we have studied that short form for colors is Vibgyor. V for violet, I for indigo, then B for blue, G for grey, then yellow, then orange and red. So sunlight is made up of these 7 colors. Now why this happened that anytime when we observe the light in normal condition, we can see just one band of light, one beam of light. Okay, every time we can't see the 7 different colors. Sometime in the rainy season, there is a formation of rainbow in the sky. We can see the 7 different colors. Now, why these colors are seen? You have learned that the dust, or you might have seen the dust particles which enters in the house or through the sunlight. Okay, sometime you might have seen if from the window or from the door a small beam of light is entering in the house, then if you carefully observe that beam of light, many dust particles are floating in that beam of light. Another example we can just take during night time. If you suddenly switch on the lights of car or any vehicle, then what do we really see? We see a beam of light in which tiny dust particles are floating. They are not stable, they are floating, they are moving randomly and continuously. Okay, so then only we can recognize, or whenever we see the dust particle, we can separate out, we can make out the beam of light. We see variety of shades of colors both in the early morning and evening in the sky, plus the photographs taken from the space by satellites. If it is taken, you might have seen on the internet, they are available. If the photographs are taken from the space by the satellite, the earth appears bluish in color. Okay, it appears blue in color. Our earth look like bluish in color. Now, what is the cause of all these effects? Why all these things happen? We are going to learn this concept or this phenomenon one by one. We will try to find out the reasons behind all the scientific incidents. Now, to understand the concept or to understand the reason behind this, we are going to learn the concept that is scattering of light. Let us observe what do you mean by scattering of light in next video. Lesson number 17, Effects of Light Part 2. We were talking about the concept scattering of light. Let us try to find out the reason behind the scattering of light. What is the mechanism behind the scattering of light? Scattering means spreading. Okay, what do you mean by scattered? Spread. So light gets spreaded. Okay, so what is the reason behind this? Let us try to see. The sun rays, or the sunlight, when it enters the earth's atmosphere, it gets obstacled by different dust particles which are present in the Earth's atmosphere, or molecules of gases like nitrogen, oxygen, etc. They are present in atmosphere. So the sunlight which enters the Earth's atmosphere, it falls on these molecules. At this time, the blue color in the sunlight gets scattered, and the most and thus the sky appears blue during the day. During daytime, if you look at the sky, it is not exactly dark blue, but it appears as a sky blue. Correct? Now why this happens? When the sun rays which are coming from the sun, they enters the earth's surface, earth's atmosphere, it gets scattered by the molecule of gases which are present in the earth's atmosphere, and because of that the blue color in the sunlight gets scattered most, and because of that sky appears blue during the day. Now if the earth had no atmosphere, imagine that there is no, or there is not at all any molecule or dust particle present in the atmosphere, right? Then there would not have been the scattering of light or sunlight, and due to which the sky now which appears as a blue, it would have been appeared dark during the daytime. That means during the daytime, or whatever light we are getting, or the reason why we are able to look in the surrounding or look at each other is nothing but the scattering of light. Because of the scattering of light, the light in the surrounding which we can see during daytime is seen. Now let us try to understand the experiment which is given in our textbook. For that, apparatus which is given is glass beaker or diode laser, or you can say laser pointer, you can call it as, then spoon, dropper, etc. What we have to do? Take clear water in a glass beaker and pass a beam of laser rays through it. Okay, what you have to do? You have to take water in a beaker, take the laser pointer, and as shown in the figure, you have to hold that laser pointer from above. Correct? And you have to pass that beam of light through the beaker. Check whether the beam is seen in the water or not. Now you know that laser pointer, normally they are dark red in color, dark blue in color. So are you able to see that color in the water? Now after that you have to take a few drops of milk, and using dropper you have to add few drops of milk into the water, stir it properly, make it evenly mixed solution, and then water will become turbid, it will become whitish in color. Again repeat the same thing, take a laser pointer and try to pass the laser beam into it again. Now you can see that the light beam will show the existence of light rays, or the way they have shown the red light in the figure, exactly you can see the red line of the laser light. Okay, now initially whenever it is plain water and you are holding pointer, laser pointer from above, you cannot see the red line, and when you added the milk drop, then you can see the red line. Now what is the reason behind this? Okay, a light beam is not seen in plain water, but it is clearly seen in turbid water. What happened? The light rays hit the tiny particles of milk. Okay, whatever milk we have added, it have the smaller particles. That laser light, it hit that milk particle and they get scattered, they get spreaded, and because of this scattered rays, scattered light, they enter in our eyes and we perceive the light, or we are able to see the red lining. Okay, so from this what we can conclude? We can conclude is a simple way that for the scattering or the light or anything is to be visible, okay, to make it visible, the scattering of light is very, very important. Means to scatter the light, should be the presence, there should be the medium to which it has to strike. Okay, same way as I explained you earlier, that whenever sunlight enters the Earth's atmosphere, if there are no particles to hit, then the light rays will straightly pass through down to the earth and they will not get scattered. And if they don't get scattered, that light or the light which is present on the earth is not possible, or it is not visible. During the day also it will be appear a dark, okay, or appear a night. So for the presence of light, scattering of light medium is required. Tiny particle, dust particle, any kind of particle required, it is must. So here we have learned how the scattering of light takes place and what are the conditions for the scattering of light. Okay, now let us try to understand the experiment for scattering of light with the practical. In that we have to take a glass beaker and fill it with the water. Here I have taken one glass, it is filled with the clear water, and then I have this one laser pointer. Okay, if you blink this one, the red point or red laser dot you can see. Now what we have to do, we have to hold this laser upside the glass and try to locate the red colored laser beam. So I will hold this laser above the glass and I will just focus it. You can see directly the dot on the bottom, but you can't see the beam through the water. In water, if you want to observe, you can't see the line of the light, correct? Now what we have to do, you have to take the milk, okay, some milk drops, and we have to add few drops of milk to the water and then stir it. Now water will become slightly turbid. So I will do one thing, I will add milk drops into this one. So you can see it has become turbid, or it is white in color. Now let us allow to settle the water for some time. Okay, I have stirred the water, so I have to wait for some time for settling the water. Means water is moving, that at that time we are not supposed to hold the laser above it. Now water has become still, so again I will try with this red light laser beam from the above the glass. Now I am holding it above, and as you can see in the screen in the center, you can see the red color, or it is on screen it is pink in color, but actually I am holding the laser which is red in color. You can see the red line, correct? What is this line? Red line, it's the beam of light that is passing through the water. Okay, now initially when we hold the laser from above, you can't see the laser beam. Okay, why? Because water was very clear, there were absence of tiny particles in the water. But once we have added a milk, that milk particles are suspended in water, and for scattering of light, the particle or the medium is required, and therefore when we added the milk, the scattering of light took place and you are able to see the beam light. So these are such a small experiments. Even we can try at your home also, but then you have to do the experiments under the guidance of your parents, because laser pointer or whichever we are using, it is little bit harmful for our eyes. So if you are doing this experiment at home, you have to conduct the experiment under the guidance of your parents. Thank you very much. Okay, lesson number 17, effects of light, part 3. Now as we have seen in the last experiment, instead of using milk, we can mix the salt, we can mix the sugar, and we can mix the detergent powder in the separate beakers of water and observe whether a laser beam is seen in them or not. Okay, so what we have explained, to make the laser beam visible, what is the condition? The particles has to be present in the water. If you add milk, you can, or it is possible to see the laser beam. Okay, why? Because the solution will become turbid, it become milky. Okay, if you add salt, now initially if you add salt, it's possible for you to see, but if you go on continuously stirring the salt, it will dissolve in water completely. Okay, so the salt molecules, they will get completely dissolved, and as a result the particles will not remain in the solution. So if you add salt, if you add sugar, then it is not possible for you to see the laser beam. But when you add the detergent powder in the separate in that beaker, it is possible. Why? Because detergent powder completely doesn't get dissolved, it just make the solution milky, it make it turbid. So if you add detergent powder, you will be able to see the laser beam. Same, so it gives you the idea to understand when the sun rises, our surrounding appears illuminated. Okay, illuminated means what? It gets lightened up. Okay, you can see the light. The entire sky appears bright, and this happens because of the dust and tiny particles in the air. And it is the scattering of sunlight by the tiny particle of various constituents of air. Okay, had there been no atmosphere on the earth, the sky would have appeared dark during the day, and of course the sun would be directly seen. So this has been verified by the observation from the different satellite information, okay, which goes outside the earth and made for studies. Now next experiment that we are going to learn is to make you understand how one particular light is being seen, or in which condition the intensity of light appears. For example, for this experiment, you have to take a table lamp with 60 or 100 watt milky bulb. Then you have to take a thick black paper, then tape, sticking tape, packing needle, then you have to take a beaker, 100 or 200 ml glass beaker, milk or milk powder, dropper, spoon, etc. Now what you have to do, cover the mouth of lampshade properly with the black paper. Okay, so you can see in diagram where the black paper has attached, it has attached to the lamp, means it is covering the surface of the lamp. And then prick a hole of 1 to 2 millimeter diameter. You have to take a small pin and make one small hole in the center of the paper. Then take a clean water in the beaker and light the bulb. You have to keep that beaker exactly in front of the lampshade and switch on the light. Okay, now light the bulb and place the beaker in contact with it should be very close to the hole. Observe from the front and at angle of 90 degree. Now add, first of all, you have to observe, you can see the arrow which they have shown, okay, dotted arrows, 90 degrees angle, that is water and beaker where it is been labeled. From that side you have to observe. Okay, what you have to observe then, you have to try to focus that made a small hole you made, no, from there can you see the light, that you have to focus. Initially whenever it is clear water, you will not able to see that point, but if you add 2 to 3 drops of milk to the water and stir it, it will become milky in color. Okay, and then you have to observe again. You can see that the hole which is present or from which the light is coming out, from there you can see the different shades of the colors. The color or the point which you are watching, that color, that you can see initially red, light red yellow color, then sequentially it will become blue in color. Okay, initially it is blue, then red yellow, and then it becomes dark yellow. As you go on adding the milk, initially when you add 2 to 3 drops, you will see the blue color. When it is increase, the drop of milks are increased, then it is reddish yellow, and then finally red yellow color can be seen. So what we have to conclude from this experiment. Let us try to find out the conclusion. Lesson number 17, effects of light, part 4. Let us conclude the previous experiment which we have seen. Okay, we started adding the milk drops to the beaker. When only one or less number of milk drops were added, initially the color was blue. When we keep on adding the particles or the milk drops, the color goes on changing. Okay, now same thing we can use to understand the concept, that is, sunlight is scattered by the molecule of gases like nitrogen, oxygen in the atmosphere. The blue colored in the sunlight is scattered the most, and therefore the sky appears blue in color. Okay, so in the daytime, whenever you look at the sky, its color is light blue in color. What is the reason behind this? Because the different particles of nitrogen, oxygen, dust particle, they are present in the atmosphere, and it's the property of the sunlight that the blue color scatters most, means maximum blue color is scattered, and therefore it appears blue. But when sunlight reaches us through the layer of the atmosphere, during sunset, the light reaching us travels a great distance through the atmosphere, because you know that there is a continuously earth is revolving around itself. At the same time, the its sun is also revolving around the earth. Because of that, during the sunset, the distance between the sun and the earth is maximum, and due to this greater distance or maximum distance, there is more scattering of blue color, and as a result, the red yellow light reaches us directly, and sun appears red in colored. Correct? Red light or red color is scattered less than the blue light. Okay, in the evening, most of the time the sky become reddish in color. Reason is what? Because due to the greater distance between the sun and the earth, the scattering of the blue color is maximum. It scatters so in a with a great extent that blue color is not at all seen. It gets scattered. Correct? And as a result, the red yellow light which is there next to yellow color, that reaches us directly, and therefore the sun appears red, and is sometime orange shades are seen, sometime red shades are observed. So this is the reason behind the different colors that appears in the sky, and it is the phenomenon that is called as the scattering of light. So here we have understood the mechanism or the reason behind the different shades or different colors which are visible in the sky, and we have also seen the scattering of light. In next video or next part, we are going to see how the shadows are formed. We have seen the shadows. Till now we are aware what is the meaning of shadow, but what is the reason why these shadows are formed, that we will understand in the next part of this chapter. Okay, so till now whatever we have studied in this chapter or these experiments, that experiments are also given in our science journal or science activity book. So that also we have to complete with the help of this experiment or information which is given in the textbook. Thank you very much. Very good morning, students. Lesson number 17, part 5. Effects of light in this topic. Today we are going to start or to learn how the shadows are formed or how the shadows obtained from different sources. You know, whenever you are standing in a sunlight, okay, you must have observed the shadows. Okay, means whatever object is there, on that light is falling, and at the back side of the object, or depend on the position of the source of light, the one side there is the dark colored figure we can observe, and to that figure we can to that figure we call it as shadow. Correct. So till now we have observed the shadows formed because of the sunlight, or the lights or tube lights or the bulbs which are present in our houses. If something is being kept in front of the light source, the back side or in the sideways there is the formation of the shadow. Now we are going to learn how these shadows are obtained, and depending on the source, whether that source of light, what is the size of that source of light. Okay, depending on how the images are formed, how the shadows are formed. First one, we are going to see the shadow obtained from a point source. Okay, now if you take example of sun, you know sun is the source of light. It's a very important source of light. But from the sun, whatever light we are getting, it is in a spreaded form, or that the source which is, or that source of light, that is sun, is very huge in size, big in size. Correct. So it is not a point source. Point source is something from which, any source from which a thin or one beam of light passes. Okay, any point through which a light rays passes, they are called as the point source. As you can observe in the figure, there is one stand with the cardboard. Okay, it is there, hold on the cardboard. There is a small hole made on the cardboard, and that cardboard is fitted on the stand. And what it is done, one candle is kept behind that grey colored cardboard. Okay, that O labeled cardboard is there. In that one hole is made, and behind that cardboard one candle is being kept. Now whatever light passes through this hole, that beam of light, it is just visibly, it is a single beam of light. Okay, so such source is called as a, or such light source is called as a point source. Now instead of candle, you can keep the torch as well as, or any small bulb we can keep to as a source of light. Okay, so such source is called as the point source. And what is an extended source then? Suppose if you remove this cardboard with the point, whichever the small hole whichever is made, if we remove that cardboard, then candle will act as a extended source. Correct. So that is the different meaning, that is the meaning of extended source and pointed source. As you can see in this figure, there is one torch, MN torch is there, and the light is coming from that torch. But you can see that the light is traveling in a spreaded way, extended way, and therefore it is called as a extended source. Whereas in this figure, the light rays are passing through a small point, small hole, and therefore that source of light is called as point source. So you understood the meaning of point source and extended source, correct? So point source is a small beam of light which is emerging through a small hole, and extended source is a spreaded source, spreaded light. Now there is a difference between the shadows obtained from the point source and the shadows obtained from the extended source. Means if the source of light is pointed, then how the shadow will be formed, and if the source of light is extended, how the shadow will be formed. There is a difference. Now for this experiment, we have to take particular things, that is, you have to take one candle or a torch as I told you earlier, then take one cardboard. Okay, two cardboards you have to, in one cardboard you have to make one small hole, okay, through which light will emerge, and another cardboard or another screen you have to keep beyond the ball. One big ball also is needed for this experiment. Now let us see how the shadow is formed or obtained from the pointed source using this apparatus or materials. Lesson number 17, Effects of Light, Part 6. Now, in this part, we are going to learn the experiment in which we are going to find out how the shadow is obtained from a point source. You have to take either a candle or a torch as a light source, and in front of that candle or light source, as shown in the figure, you have to keep the cardboard. As I have told you in the previous video as well, you have to make one hole in that one, and now the light can be seen through this hole. Whatever torch or candle we will keep behind this image with this cardboard, it can be seen as a point, and that is only our point source. Now what we have to do in this one? Take rays OP. You have to keep one ball, big size ball in between that screen and cardboard. Okay, and just see as shown in the figure, place a screen vertically at a distance of 1 meter beyond the cardboard. Means the distance between that cardboard and screen, it should be 1 meter. And then you have to observe the shadow of the ball PQ. Now the rays OP and OQ starting from the point source just pass by the ball. Okay, that's so you can see the rays OP and OQ. That two rays, it's not only like that, only two rays will come out from that source. But for our study, to make you understand, we are taking example of these two rays, that is rays OP and rays OQ. What they will do, they will just pass by the ball and fall on the points at A and B on the screen. Okay, whatever rays are passing through that or touching that ball and moving further, they are falling on the screen in the point A and B. See, however, since no rays reach between these A and B, means that ball is solid ball, so therefore the rays could not pass through the ball, correct? So in between, the central part will be remain unlit, or it is not lighted, and this is, you can see that on the screen there is a dark colored shadow, right? So this dark colored AB shadow, we call that shadow as umbra. So what is the spelling? UMBRA, umbra. Umbra is the spelling for that one. The dark shadow which is formed is called as the umbra. Okay, so whenever you keep the point source and keep the ball in between, the image or shadow will be formed. You can see a single dark colored shadow, and we call that shadow as umbra. But in the reverse case, if we use the extended source, I'm showing the next image in which rest all things are same, only what we have removed? Yes, you are right, we have removed the cardboard, that minute cardboard with minute hole we have removed. So directly the light from the torch, or you can keep the candle as well, the light directly coming out from the torch and falling on the ball, correct? So this source is which type of source? Extended source. So till now we have studied the point source and the meaning of extended source. Now what is the nature of the shadow formed by this extended source? As you can see on the screen, there is a formation of shadow, correct? The two types of shadow, but you can see one is, the central one is dark in color, AD. AD shadow is a dark color, and the grey colored shadow surrounding that dark colored shadow, grey colored covering or shadow is there, BC, correct? So whatever shadow we are getting from extended source, it is divided into two types, correct? First one is dark, another one is faint. So the faint part of the image or shadow is called as penumbra, and the dark part is called as umbra, correct? So in two types it is divided, umbra and penumbra. Shadow which is formed, it is of two types, means clearly you cannot, even if you cannot make it clearly, but by looking at the shadow you can feel that the central part is dark, whereas surrounding part is faint, correct? So central dark part is called as umbra, and surrounding faint part is called as penumbra. So this is the distance, this is the difference between the shadow obtained from point source and extended source. Correct? The shadow which we obtain from the point source, there is only single type of shadow, one type of shadow. You can see in this figure AB, there is no different distinguishing between the colors. Single color shadow is formed, and this shadow is called as umbra. Whereas whenever the extended source is used, means the torch directly is used, जो बीच का that cardboard is there, no, that with a hole it is removed, so it is extended source. And here you can see the AD is umbra and BC is penumbra. So this is about the shadows obtained from a point source and extended source. Now lesson number 17, effects of light. In part 7 we are going to learn the shadows formed by an extended source, but if the object is small in size. In last videos we have seen the object, this ball whichever we have used, no, it was big in size, correct? And then we have seen the how the shadows are formed using the point source and using the extended source. Whenever the object is big in size and the source is pointed, then the shadow formed is a dark colored shadow, single shadow. It is called as the umbra. When it is formed from extended source, it is divided into two parts, that is umbra and penumbra. The dark one is umbra, light or faint one is penumbra. Now let us see what happens in the following activity when ball is bigger than the extended source and ball is smaller than the extended source. Correct? Now if you see the figure, it is given initially the extended source is a bigger one in size and ball is small, okay, and the screen which is initially has to be kept at one place, okay, screen BC which you can see, you have to keep it at one place. Now initially we have seen that the umbra and penumbra is formed, correct? But now when you replace that big ball with the small ball, then what you will observe, that there is the formation of, obviously there will be the, if you replace the big ball with the one smaller one, then the shadow on the screen, we see the umbra and penumbra of the ball. We can see both the figures, even if the small size of the ball is small, two types of shadows are formed, that is umbra and penumbra. But without moving the light source, means light source and ball we have to keep as it is. What we have to move, that screen, BC screen jo dikh raha hai na, that screen you have to move further, you have to move away from the ball, and then we have to observe the shadow, correct? As the screen moves further, the umbra becomes smaller and smaller. Umbra means what? The central one, dark one, AD is umbra over here. So that will become dark, that will become smaller and smaller. As you move back, you go on increasing, umbra will become smaller and smaller, and at one particular point it will disappear. Okay, so you can see the second screen which is kept behind that one, that is light grey in color, means there only penumbra you can see, correct? So from this what we can conclude, that the shadow obtained from the extended source for small object is always a penumbra, or that they are light grey in color, correct? Now same principle can be used to understand that why we can't see the shadows of the birds which are flying in the sky. Okay, birds are flying in the sky and there is a source of light. Which is the source of light? Sun, correct? So obviously if so we cannot see the shadows of the birds. Now what is the reason? Because there is an object, there is a source of light, and where is the screen? Screen will be obviously the surface or our land. But then still we can't see the images of the birds which are flying high in the sky. Reason is same, okay, because sun is the extended source, means compared to sun the bird, size of the bird is very small. So obviously even if there is a formation of shadow, there will be the uh, there is a large distance between the object and screen. So wherever the shadow is formed, that distance is very much a large distance, and as a result that umbra first disappears, then penumbra also, it goes on disappearing as the distance between the bird and surface of the earth increases. So we can't see the shadows of the birds which are flying high up in the sky. That is the reason behind this. So here we have completed the topic, that is the shadows obtained from point source and extended source. Now the next topic we will discuss in the next videos. Thank you very much. Lesson number 17, Effects of Light, part 8, we are going to continue. In that part 8, we are going to learn the next topic, that is called as eclipses. Okay, so in geography you have already gone through, you are knowing what is the meaning of eclipses. So just remember that it is just a revision. Okay, in short it's a revision. In 6th standard geography part you have already learned this concept. Now what is an eclipse? The moon revolves around the earth. Everyone knows that the earth moves around the sun and the moon revolves around the earth, correct? And every one of these, earth, moon and sun, they revolve in their own orbits. In own orbits or the circular line, circular path, and it is never disturbed, it is never changed. Okay, their orbits are same. So the moon revolves about the earth and the earth along with the moon revolves around the sun. And the orbits of revolution are, though they are different, there is one day on which sun, the moon and the earth come in a straight line. Correct? The sun, the moon and the earth come in a straight line, and it is said that the eclipse have taken place. Then only eclipse is taking place. When the sun, moon and earth come in a straight line, then eclipse takes place. Correct? Now first eclipse that we are going to see is a solar eclipse. Now what happened in solar eclipse? You can see in solar eclipse, it is shown on the screen. You can see the figure, the sun, the moon and the earth. Okay, they are in a straight line. Now what happened? During its revolution, moon comes between the sun and the earth. Whenever these all are moving around themselves, at one moment moon comes between the sun and the earth, and the shadow of the moon is cast on the earth. Means the shadow of the moon falls on the earth. In simple language you call it as a fall. Okay, but actual word is what? Cast. The shadow of the moon is cast on the earth, and the sun cannot be seen from the part in the shadow. Now a solar eclipse is seen only on a new moon day. It can be seen on a new moon day, and the solar eclipse may be either partial or total. Now some days back you might have seen, or we have seen in this from the school also, using the glasses, the solar eclipse can be seen, and sometime it is partial, sometime it is total. Partial eclipse, what happened in partial eclipse? The solar part or solar disk is not completely covered by the moon. Okay, means only some part is been covered, then it is called as partial eclipse. And when full part of the sun is covered by a moon, then it is called as the full eclipse or total eclipse. Now during this eclipse, what happened? Ultraviolet rays, which are very harmful to us, they are coming out from that region from which only the particular part of the sun is visible. From that region very harmful ultraviolet rays comes out, and it is very harmful. If you look at the sun during solar eclipse, look at the sun, the rays are very harmful for our eyes. Therefore it is advised that never watch the solar eclipse with the naked eye. and that is the reason why even sometimes the people, even small children or the pregnant women, they are advised not to go out of the house. And because of the superstitions, you might have you are the smaller one, but still some people, elder people in the house, will say don't go out, it's not good, it's something bad. Okay, it's not a religious way, it don't have much value. But what is the reason is what? Since the ultraviolet rays are emerging out from the open solar part, they are very harmful to us, and therefore it is advisable not to go out of the house during solar eclipse. So from the point of view of exam, you have to go through this diagram. It can be asked for draw the diagram, well labeled diagram in the written exam. So you have to go through this information which is given in our textbook about the solar eclipse. Now in next part we are going to learn the lunar eclipse. Standard 7 Subject Science, lesson number 17, Effects of Light. In part 8a, last part was 8 and this part is part 8a. In this part we are going to learn a concept which is called as zero shadow day. Now what is the meaning of zero shadow day? Shadow, you know the meaning, you have seen the shadows. Whenever you stand in a light, in front of light or in a sunlight, take example of any sunlight, then what happen? At the back side of us or any object which is kept in a light, on another side of that, okay, opposite to source of light, the shadow is being formed. In last parts we have seen how the shadows are formed. Now zero shadow day means what? There is one day in year on which the sun reaches exactly overhead, okay, and it's called as the zero shadow day. On that day, even if you stand in a sunlight, okay, normally what you observe, whenever you stand in a sunlight, either any side of us, okay, exactly opposite to the source of light, exactly opposite to the sun, we can see the shadow. Okay, from the morning till evening, the sizes of shadow changes. As the sun rises, it comes slowly up and up and up. It goes exactly overhead, then again it goes downside in the west direction, and every time you can see the size of the shadow changes. But there is one day on which the sun reaches exactly overhead, means if you stand outside in the ground, the sun will be exactly above the head, overhead, and on that day you can see that there is no shadow at all, means even if you observe from all the sides, you can't see the shadow. Correct, means that is the position we call the sun is exactly overhead. As you can see in the figure, okay, you can see sun is rising and sun rising direction, and one boy is standing on a ground, and you can see the sun is not exactly overhead. Overhead means which position? The position which is shown by arrow. Okay, one straight arrow it is there, it is called the overhead position, but sun is little bit in a slanting position, and that is why you can see the shadow of that boy, shadow of the stumps which are there in the ground. But whenever slowly that sun will come up and it will come at the position of the arrow, we can see you or that there is no formation of the shadow. You can't see the shadow of a boy at all. Correct? So that day is called as the zero shadow day. On that day at noon, shadows completely disappear, and these events can only be seen in the region between the Tropic of Cancer, that is 23.5 degrees to north, and Tropic of Capricorn, that is 23.5 degrees to south. means overall on the earth's surface from anywhere we can't see the zero shadow day. Okay, why? Because zero shadow day can be seen only within this range, equator. Okay, you know that the 0 degree starts with the equator. So from that 0, 23.5 degrees up, that is towards north, sorry, and 23.5 degrees towards south. Both in that patch only you can observe the zero shadow day. Correct. And this event occurs in a summer on different days in different places in this region. And therefore on this day it is called as a zero shadow day. In which region? The region that occurs between 23.5 degrees to north and 23.5 degrees to south. Okay, so only in this region zero shadow day can be observed. So as name tells you, zero shadow means no shadow. That means on that day the shadow is completely disappeared, and therefore it is called as zero shadow day. Lesson number 17. In part 9, we are going to continue with the knowledge of lunar eclipse. Now, when the earth comes between the sun and the moon, the shadow of the earth is cast on the moon. Okay, in solar what happens? Moon comes between earth and sun. And in lunar eclipse what happens? Earth comes between moon and the sun, and the shadow of the earth is cast on the moon. Okay, and some part of the moon gets covered, and this is called as the lunar eclipse. As you can see in the figure, the earth is shown, it came between sun and the moon, and this shadow of the earth, it is falling, it is casting on the moon. Okay, so some part of the moon gets covered and eclipse occurs. Okay, that type of eclipse is called as a lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is seen only on a full moon night, correct? And when the solar eclipse is seen, new moon day, correct? If the whole moon comes in the shadow of the earth, it is a total lunar eclipse, and when or other time it is partial. When the shadow of the earth is cast only on some part of the moon, then it is a partial lunar eclipse. So we can watch the lunar eclipse with the naked eyes, and as the solar eclipse, I told you that you should not watch the eclipse with the naked eyes, but for lunar eclipse there are no certain restriction. You can watch the lunar eclipse with the naked eye, and lunar eclipse can be seen over a period of few hours, means it is long lasting, it can be observed for a longer period, whereas solar eclipse, it after some hardly 20 to 30 minutes it disappears, correct? So this was about the lunar eclipses. Eclipses often occur in the solar system, and as seen from the earth, when a planet or star passes behind the moon, that state is called as occultation. One more concept we are going to learn, that when the earth, when it is seen from the earth, when planet or star passes behind the moon, and that means you cannot see that planet, or you cannot see that star, then that state is called as occultation. And it is a common phenomenon that occurs with the sun, the moon, or other stars. For example, in 2016 the star called Rohini was hidden behind the moon, and after some time it appeared on the other side of the moon. So that kind of condition, it is called as occultation. Okay, about these eclipses there are many superstitions, as we have discussed in earlier videos as well, that an eclipse is a natural phenomenon. Many superstitions are connected to eclipses, and they are prevalent in the society, means they are very much followed by the society. It is necessary that everyone makes effort to rid the society of the superstitious beliefs. Now, as a science student, or as you have learnt into the textbooks now, why it is not advisable to go out in the during the solar or during the eclipse period, solar eclipse, because ultraviolet rays are coming out from the part of the sun and they are very much harmful. That is the reason why we are advised not to go out. We are not advised to look at the sun with the naked eye. There is no superstition. There should not be any story created for this. So as you now you know the actual reason behind this solar eclipse, you can try to solve your problems, or you can try to advise your elders, those who are following superstitions. You can tell them the actual reason. So here we are ending with the concept of lunar eclipse.